Shawn. You're typically, working on cases right about now. I appreciate you humoring me taking some time to get on camera. I know that's not always fun. Just wanted to give our clients an opportunity to get a little bit of a feel for who you are as a person is all. If you could kind of walk us through, tell us a little bit about you. Like let's start with, where'd you grow up?
Sure. So I grew up in Las Vegas, went to elementary through high school, and even after high school, I lived there. Had 2 brothers and a sister, wonderful family. We lived next to a desert, so I was constantly playing sports and living in the desert. My father, he always had a great attitude anytime, and I kind of almost got away with everything. So anytime I would come back, whether we're playing football and I get grass stains, or whether I'm out in the desert, and there was like mud everywhere. So anytime I would come home, I was always covered in stuff. But my dad would always had a saying, "Oh, Linda," that was my mother's name. "Oh, they're boys," and I mean, we could get grass stains on our jeans, our shoes could be messed up, and that was kind of always my free pass. But my dad always encouraged us to be, just to be out there and having fun. And our neighborhood was great. We had tons of kids. Played kickball, football in the street, hide and go seek, climbing trees. It was just, we would just kind of run wild. So it was a good time.
I wouldn't think, running wild, getting some mud on your clothes, climbing trees is not really what Sin City's known for down there. That sounds like a fun upbringing. So you were in Vegas then all the way till you graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And where'd you go to college?
After high school, I ended up getting drafted to play baseball. So I played.
Getting drafted to play baseball.
Minor league.
So tell me about that. That's a little bit of atypical
what
track.
You think it would be, but yeah. So out of high school, I got drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals. I played a couple years in their minor league system. It was it was a good experience. Just wasn't that good enough, but
What was that like?
It was great. It was in the 80s. So St. Louis Cardinals, was a great baseball team. We had Ozzie Smith. And a bunch of other all-stars. So, we got to go to spring training. We played a little bit with them, but, it's surprisingly, was just a grind to a certain extent, because you play ball every day except for on All-Star. When they have the All-Star break, we had a break. We still had to go and even watch the All-Star game, so it really wasn't a break. But it was a wonderful experience. Met a bunch of good guys, and you're as a kid, you're just dreaming of, hey, one of these days, for me at least, was, no, I want to be a professional baseball player. It just didn't work out to what I wanted, I guess, in the end. But
it kind of did. For a minute there. And
you're not going to play.
Wild.
Yeah, you're not going to play pro sports forever either.
Sure.
So even though I didn't make it to the bigs, I still played with a bunch of good players that did make it to the big leagues. So that was always fun looking back. And
tell me about, so how does that go down so how'd you transition out of that? How long were you in it, and what did you do next? And how did you figure out that, hey, I'm going to go try another career path at this point and kind of set that particular dream aside? Yeah.
So again, in that, it's very competitive. It's just, and even on my team, there are some really good players that you're like, oh, this guy's going to make it for sure. And they just don't. So on mine, I ended up getting released. They kind of send you a release. Then you get, where you sometimes have other teams that are interested in you. So there's a couple other teams, but you're also kind of doing this self-evaluation that, oh, hey, you know what? Is this something for me? Is this something I'm even going to be able to do? And for me, it was like, I think maybe I need to go try something else, kind of a thing. Now, I had no idea what I was wanting to do really, but I just knew that I had just reached my limit as far as playing baseball. So,
okay.
And there's just always something else. There's always a plan B or plan C,
what position did you play?
Mixes. In high school, I played first base because I was left-handed. And so it just kind of lends yourself kind of to that. Then I ended up being drafted as an outfielder. So played left field.
Cool.
For the Cardinals. Yeah.
Very cool. So where did you live then when you were with this minor league team? Was that in St. Louis?
That was in Tennessee, actually. So,
okay.
Yeah. Their minor leagues are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And then spring training, the spring training hubs are usually like Arizona or Florida. Ours was in Florida.
Okay.
In Tampa Bay.
So you then get released and you decide, you start thinking, hey, maybe I'm going to look into something else. And where does that take you? So you're living in Tennessee at the time. Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, I still came back to Las Vegas.
Okay.
So came back to Las Vegas. So decided to kind of go to school. So I'm going to school. I'm also working construction, also doing, triathlons. I'm trying to do just stuff that's kind of fun. So again, I don't know what's going to happen, where I'm going to end up, but and even at that time, as I'm going to school, I was working, I think, as a milkman for a dairy. I was also doing ambulance. I was an ambulance driver, an EMT, in the evening. So I kind of just felt like I just had a lot of things out there, nursing or the medical field, as a physician's assistant also sounded interesting. I was doing construction. I was actually doing plastering or stucco, and I liked that as well. I enjoyed being outside. I enjoyed, doing something with my hands, having a finished product you could look at and admire was kind of really a cool thing. And just trying to get undergrad stuff done. So
okay. So how
and I had also kind of had a steady girlfriend who I ended up marrying not too long after that. So
gotcha. Okay. So at what age then did you go back and go to college, start going to school?
I feel like I was always going on and off to school. So I definitely never went the traditional route. So I think I would start school, then I would stop school. And then I feel like I got married and I had other interests, other jobs I pursued. And then I decided to kind of go back to school. And then also, once you get married, you start having kids, which are, a wonderful blessing. But then, once you're married, you have kids, there's financial obligations. You just don't get to kind of, run off and do what you want to do. There's other responsibilities. So, in a good way. So I think that's why, you always had a job or two jobs and, it was just kind of always working and just kind of plotting out, what you wanted to do next. And I think in my life, I've just always had different things that have interested me, and I've had a very supportive wife that has let me go and do the things that have interested me, so.
Yeah, you've done a lot of stuff. So at what age then do you decide to go to law school?
This was probably, I ended up having my own stucco company. I'm not even for sure, and was running that for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. So I was older. My wife, and we ended up having 5 kids. As our last kid was kind of in elementary school, my wife had decided she wanted to go get a degree. I'd always, even though I liked doing construction, always kind of thought, it'd be fun to finish up a degree. So I even went back to school, started just, taking a few classes here and there, finished up what I was, didn't really finish it up, but I was just, getting through some classes, so to speak. My wife ended up getting a education degree, and then that's when I wanted to at least get a bachelor's degree and finish that. Didn't know really what direction I was going to go really after that. I still kind of was interested in the medical field, and I've always enjoyed the law. The law, I think I had a few different mentors, and they were kind of always attorneys. They were really good guys. I looked up to them a lot. So that was kind of, that would be something that would be really neat, to kind of emulate a little bit, what they did, maybe kind of live up to their standards and just maybe go that direction, which eventually I ended up doing.
Yeah. Okay. So where'd you go to law school?
I ended up going to Western Michigan University. Our campus was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So yeah, that's where I ended up going.
Okay. And so you go, baseball, construction, milkman, stucco company, go to law school, and then you come out of law school now with a law degree. And what do you do? What do you want to do?
In law school, when you're kind of going there, you're not. Some people just know exactly what they wanted to do. I didn't know exactly what law field I wanted to do, although I knew. And that's the great thing about law. It's just in every aspect, I think, of our lives. So you kind of got the the CIS shows. You got these crime shows, and there's like, that's going to be great. How exciting! So as I was going to law school, I was able to work in Ann Arbor, the Washtenaw County Prosecutor's Office, because I was thinking, you know what? Let me give criminal law a chance. So I was going through there, worked for them for a year. And then you kind of start trying to figure out, hey, is this the area of law that I kind of like? So, and it's exciting, but it was, just wasn't the best fit, because on that you're, especially we were working in the appellate, or I was working in the appellate division. So it was everybody that's been arrested now, automatically you get to have a free appeal. So everybody that appealed, that's basically what we're doing, was just kind of shutting them down. So, a lot of times it was heavy. There was murder cases we were working to, parents that had their kids taken away, rightfully so, but it was just, it was heavy. And it's not that something that bothered me. It was just, I don't know if I want to just do this. I don't know if this benefits or if this adds enough value to me to continue. And this was the first part of the law that I was basically just kind of trying.
Yeah.
I did a few different things with tax while I was in law school as well. And we did some social service, where I was following up, checking on people, checking on individual houses. And I also enjoyed all that.
So you got some experience in kind of multiple areas. What ended up bringing you to St. George?
So when I came back after law school, and that's the other thing, that kind of the tricky part with going to law school is I still had my family here. So my wife, she was still teaching. She was teaching second grade, so she stayed here while I went to law school. So my home was still here. So in law school, it was just, get to law school, get through law school, and then, we kind of get our life back, so to speak.
Yeah, that had to be hard.
Yeah, that was, if you want to ever test your marriage, try living away from your spouse and your family.
Yeah, that's rough.
For 3 years, yeah.
So were you back here in the summers?
Yeah, so summers, holidays, and then my wife would try to come out there and visit us. But it was still, it was still just, it was a challenge for sure. So.
Yeah, you've definitely taken the atypical path to getting where you're at now. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
But but the other thing is too, you always hear, hey, don't regret, the things that you've done, because it's what makes you, it's what makes us whole. I think all the different experiences that I've had, good and bad, it's helped me, now obviously to deal with my clients, now to deal with any family problems that could come up. It just seems like there's just, there's always good things and then there's always bad things. But I think being more of a well-rounded person, of all my experience has just, allowed me now to kind of take a step back. I don't get super serious about problems just because you've had enough of them that hey, we're going to get through this, and we're going to make the best out of it, and it usually is ending up being something that's a blessing, weirdly in disguise, or something that's made you stronger, or your family stronger, or something that you've been able to push through. So it's been it's been a good experience to go through certain things and to not do that atypical law school experience, I think. And when I'm there, it was kind of funny because now you're kind of the older guy, so it's like you're all of a sudden the father figure. So it kind of puts you on the spot a little bit on certain things. So.
Yeah, definitely adds some credibility to our office. It's a lot of our attorneys are, more like me, where it's a more typical route of go to college, go straight to law school, come out and work as an attorney. So you've got life experience on us that that, yeah, you can't fake. You couldn't get other than just living through it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I know you did have some years of personal injury experience working at a couple other firms that do personal injury law prior to joining our firm. And you also worked at was it Utah Legal Aid? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So Utah Legal Services. Yeah. It's kind of a nonprofit. When I was working there, we typically help people that have been abused, physically harmed, or threat of being physically harmed. But yeah, on that, it was a great experience because we get to help people that, and typically what we're doing there, we're doing protective orders, we're doing stalking injunctions, and then all sorts of family matters, including divorces, custody, kind of things like that. But yeah, it was a great place to work. And there, when we're talking about, value in what you're doing. Yeah, while it was challenging, there was also aspects of at the end of the day, you feel good because you're helping these people that need help. So
yeah, I'll say.
And a lot of times that's, we all need that, I think, in our lives. That's what, kind of, gets you going in the morning. That's what gets you excited about your work. So.
Yeah. So with what we do in personal injury law, I often feel like people are coming to us because they are, in a bad situation. They really need help, and it can be kind of heavy and stressful and be a lot of pressure. But honestly, you working with Utah Legal Services, I feel like those people oftentimes were dealing with even harder and more difficult positions sometimes than some. Certainly not all of our accident victims. Sometimes people are in terrible shape, but you kind of are used to dealing with people that have a lot on their plate and are in a bad spot and trying to get them some help. How does that compare? Do you feel like has that been less stressful to work with people that are injured from car accidents or whatever it might be as opposed to the people you were dealing with before?
Yeah, it feels kind of the same. So I mean, it's all. I mean, it's stressful and rewarding at the same time. So we've got, on either side. That's the whole aspect. We got, but in personal injury, it's the same thing. They're coming to you. They've got a problem. They're sometimes in the worst shape of their condition, or given an accident, they're in pain. They're worried because it's an unknown, right? I'm in an accident. Okay, now what do I do? I don't know any attorney. I don't know, who to trust. I don't know the right steps. I've got to call my insurance company. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know if something I do say to the at-fault insurance company, is that going to be held against me? I don't know, if I'm talking to the police, how that's going to work out. My car's destroyed. How am I going to get a new rental car? I'm banged up. I'm heading to the emergency room. And that aspect could be, I'm heading to the emergency room and I'm unconscious and I don't know what's going on. Or I'm heading to the emergency room. I've got broken bones, or hey, right now I'm conscious, I've got a headache and I'm feeling something in my neck. It could be all these different aspects, but their main thing is that they're worried and they need someone to trust. So, that's can you be in a better position as an attorney than to be put in that? So I think that's what I like. That's what I thrive. And then all of a sudden, now it's okay. Now let's turn on our job. What is your story? What is going on with you? And you get to share something that's very intimate. And every client that we get is completely different. Every story is different. Their needs are different. What they share with you, who you meet within their family, their different aspect. All of a sudden, now you become this part of their life. And at the end of the day, that's what we get to do. We get to help them. And who we're helping them is against the insurance company. It's this corporation. It's tough because you don't understand it until you've gone through it. And one of the other prior experiences I've had is I've been in a car crash, so I know how worrisome thing is getting your car replaced, or am I going to get fair value? But in your mind, you're in your head, you're kind of thinking, hey, you know what? I'm just going to talk to the insurance company. Everything's going to be fine. I'm a nice guy. I'm an honest guy. I'm just going to tell my story. They'll get it and they'll pay my bills and everything's going to be good. They'll take care of my car. They'll take care of, the pain and suffering and the changes that I've had to go through during this whole experience. And you legitimately think that's going to happen. And unfortunately, we know all too well that's not the case there, because unfortunately, it's not that they don't care about you as a person. It's just their bottom line is going to be, serving that corporate dollar, and they've got to come through and they've got to pay the least amount they can. And the least amount that they can is going to benefit them and the corporation. And it's just this, it's not fair. It makes you frustrated, and it's just, that's kind of the realm that I feel like that we work in, that we have to get results in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I tell people that if insurance adjusters wanted to pay you the max amount that was fair and reasonable under Utah law for what happened to you, then I wouldn't have a job. We'd be doing something else. So, what about, tell me like an example of a particular client? Like, can you walk us through like what is an example of a case, and what type of things can you help somebody with that they might be dealing with, and kind of what kind of result can you get? Does one come to mind?
Yeah. So, I mean, and they're all cases, and I've probably helped hundreds of people, and they're all, and again, it all starts off the same. It all is about, understanding my client needs, what their story is, and advocating for them, being on their side throughout the whole thing. And I think I've got stories that are, we've had ones that I recall, and some of the ones you recall are, kind of some of the more horrific ones where, it's a snow. Snow's falling, it's up, past Cedar City area, and they're stuck on I-15, and a semi truck just comes, plows into them, just wipes out the back of a minivan, where you're just going, you're looking at pictures, you're going, I don't even know how these people survived, and didn't just hit my minivan, but just continued down the road, taking out other vehicles. Other ones that kind of tend to get bad are motorcycle crashes, where just because their injuries are so significant that it just, you're reading through what's going on, through the surgeries that they have to have, whether it's their legs or arms, and you're just, you just empathize with them, and that's part of, part of the job that you kind of go through with them. But we also have, I think I have clients that aren't so badly hurt, that could be just a rear end collision. And you hate to even, try to disseminate against what's bad, what's not bad, because, typically if somebody, is in just a rear end collision, I mean, they're going to have neck issues. They're going to have, problems with their back, could be radiating down in their shoulders. But even on a small claim that with neck injuries, sometimes they have to go through where they're getting multiple different shots, whether it's steroid injections, trigger point injections, where they're getting nerves in their neck burned off. But those are extremely painful, even the needles. And, I'm not one to, shy away from needles or getting shots. But when I know what they go through, just that alone, you wouldn't want, your worst enemy to go through that kind of stuff. So it's tough for everybody all around. I remember when I was talking about the motorcycle crash, this individual, had somebody pull out in front of him, couldn't hit the brakes fast enough and plowed right into the side of a vehicle. He had multiple different surgeries on his hands, his fingers, his arms, and also he had, I think, on his femur, had surgery on that. I mean, his hands will never be the same. But it was just, and it's just trying because that's kind of I feel kind of the worst part of our job, but also kind of the best part of our job is going through this with your client, because you literally are going through them. You're talking them through everything. You're reassuring them because, again, there's this unknown. They don't know, from just the procedural aspects. Well, how do things get paid for? How do my medical bills get paid for? How do I get a new motorcycle? How do I, what's going to be my outcome? How's this surgery going to go through? How am I going to end up getting paid? How am I paying my medical bills? It's a list that just never ends of concerns for our clients. But it pulls you in because you're the one that has to have the answers. You're the one that's going to have to reassure them that, hey, no, everything is fine. This is what's coming next. But this good part and bad part of going through a client's whole case, their whole injury claim from start to finish. You start off when things are usually rough. Typically things do get better and you're hopeful that things get better. Occasionally there's these tragic cases that, that just, our clients are just as good as they're going to get, and their damages or their injuries are just so significant that, it unfortunately is what it is. But typically you're helping them through this whole process. And that's end of the day, that's what, where we're talking about this value that I find in work. It's so meaningful to me, and hopefully it is to our client. Do
you remember, by chance, the largest settlement that you've been a part of on a case that you worked on, or an example of a settlement that you were able to be a part of seeing a client get?
There's been a couple ones that have been in the millions. So on that, it's a kind of a bittersweet thing, because if you've got a claim, and one, does the insurance company even have what's their policy limit? So if you're in a semi crash, something like that, you've got high policy limits. If you're not, if it's or a commercial policy, if it's a regular vehicle, it could be something smaller that's not so significant. But I always, kind of, when I'm talking to my clients, you don't want to have a case that you're getting millions, because if you're getting a case where you're getting millions, you're going to have some lifelong problems and lifelong difficulties. So, while we have those, and thank goodness, because our client's going to need care, for the rest of their life typically. So, we're fortunate if there are policy limits that are that high.
What about, in just your personal life? Tell me about what do you do for fun, to kind of take the edge off when you're not, in there stressing and helping people with personal injury cases?
I do a lot of things. I think as you kind of get older, you kind of start, I kind of separate things. I feel like I had mentioned I worked in Ann Arbor, and I went to school in Ann Arbor. Well, I like sports. So one of the fun things was University of Michigan. While I didn't go to that school, I worked downtown there. That's been my football team, my basketball team. So they just won the national championship. So that's been fun. So sometimes you jump aboard, teams that you have a connection with. So I definitely got a connection there. So that was a good outcome. I like working out every day, work out every single morning, or try to. Some mornings are better than others. And I've noticed as I get hurt or as I get older, you also get, I don't know how many times. I mean, if I make it through a workout without pulling something, it's been a good workout.
What about, I know you got a family. What about with your kids? Were you able to pass on your baseball prowess to any of these people?
No, they just weren't into it. I tried to, but that's the other thing too. We always get these techniques of parenting. So one of the techniques was I get my kids doing whatever they want to do, but whatever way they go, if they have their own interests. So they've always had interest in basketball or tennis or one of these other sub sports that aren't very, great as baseball. But I've got grandkids. So I'm hoping. So yeah,
got another chance.
I have bought my grandsons a baseball bat and a tee and a ball, and a glove. So yeah, we're trying to work on that.
Very cool.
But the fun thing, that's the thing, when you've got kids and grandkids, I think all of a sudden your hobbies are now turning to whatever they're into. So I'm always grabbing the grandkids and doing something every every Saturday with them. With my kids, if again, I've had a couple kids that were really into tennis. Well, that was my new hobby. I have no idea what I'm doing playing tennis, but yeah, you learn to play tennis. If they like pickleball, and I've got even some daughter-in-laws that are doing marathons. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, because they're going to try to drag you out there because they always got to push the old man to see what he could do. So
yeah, okay, well,
there's
very
always
cool.
Something going on that's fun.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk us a little bit about yourself. I know that can be a lot. Ask you to kind of go through your life story a little bit, but yeah, thanks for letting us in.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.